Peaceful civil disobedience to unjust laws, which I support with every fiber of my being, can sometimes be necessary at any level of government. It falls upon the people, in the last resort, to stand against injustice, no matter where it occurs. In the long run, the only way racism can be overcome is through the philosophy of individualism, which I have promoted throughout my life. Our rights come to us not because we belong to some group, but our rights come to us as individuals, and it is as individuals that we should judge one another. Racism is a particularly odious form of collectivism whereby individuals are treated not on their merits, but on the basis of group identity. Nothing in my political philosophy, which is the exact opposite of the racial totalitarianism of the 20th century, gives aid or comfort to such thinking. To the contrary, my philosophy of individualism is the most radical intellectual challenge to racism ever posed. Government exacerbates racial thinking and undermines individualism because its very existence encourages people to organize along racial lines in order to lobby for benefits for their group. That lobbying, in turn, creates animosity and suspicion among all groups, each of which believes that it is getting less of its fair share than the others. Instead, we should quit thinking in terms of race. Yes, in 2008 it is still necessary to say that we should stop thinking in terms of race and recognize that freedom and prosperity benefit all Americans. As Thomas Sowell points out, lobbyists for various racial groups will spend all their time trying to enact programs that specifically help their own group, even though that group would reap far more benefit from advancing economic freedom in general. He gives the example of taxi licensing restrictions, a government policy that disproportionately hurts blacks, but since it is not thought of as a racial issue per se, racial pressure groups do absolutely nothing to overturn it. That's another reason we should stop thinking in terms of race. Consider Sowell. Politically, however, it makes far more sense for a black leader to fight tooth and nail for 100 more CETA, Comprehensive Employment and Training Act, jobs in the Philadelphia ghetto than to fight for an end to taxi licensing restrictions, even though the latter would probably mean thousands more jobs for blacks. Jobs with far higher pay than CETA jobs and of permanent duration. Ghetto jobs are an earmarked benefit, however few, tenuous and low paid. Benefits to blacks as members of the general public are no feather in a black leader's cap, even if blacks are benefited more than others by gaining access that was nearly impossible for them before. As I discuss in Chapter 5, the federal war on drugs has wrought disproportionate harm on minority communities. Allowing for states' rights here would surely be an improvement, for the states could certainly do a better and more sensible job than the federal government has been doing if they were free to decide the issue for themselves. And although people studying my record will discover how consistent I have been over the years, they will uncover one major shift. In recent years, I have dropped my support for the federal death penalty. It is a dangerous power for the federal government to have, and it is exercised in a discriminatory way. If you are poor and black, you are much more likely to receive this punishment. We should not think in terms of whites, blacks, Hispanics, and other such groups. That kind of thinking only divides us. The only us versus them thinking in which we might indulge is the people, all the people, versus the government, which loots and lies to us all, threatens our liberties, and shreds our Constitution. That's not a white or black issue. That's an American issue, and it's one on which Americans of all races can unite in a spirit of goodwill. That may be why polls in 2007 found ours the most popular Republican campaign among black voters.